So we smashed a motor on the discus, and maybe, you're getting into FPV, and the first thing you do is break a motor. So changing a motor is one of the basic first things you're probably going to have to learn how to do. So let's do it. The props still okay, and we like to fly our props, or I like to fly my props until they're no longer existent. Now I get to test out a new tool. I got this thing that sucks the air. Oh yeah, I gotta make it so that you can talk to me. I'm also gonna heat up my what's it called? I'm heating up my soldering iron. I run my soldering iron at 350 Fahrenheit or Celsius, I don't even know. I just run it, probably Fahrenheit. I run it at 350, and that seems to be the perfect temperature for me. I also don't ever use the water and the sponge. Some people swear by it, but I found that using the water and sponge has always kind of ended up with my stick getting messed up. And I was gonna build, well, I'm going to always be building discuses. So I have another discus here with actually one motor on it, and the motor wire, is it the length? I don't know if this length will actually, it won't reach, so no, I'm just gonna get a fresh motor. Now the fresh motors are always a little bit longer, and that's fine. I'll show you kind of how to do it all. Getting one of these electric drills is like the greatest. I think that I have one linked in my links below, so you should be able to find one, but it's like one of the best tools that you can get. You already smell it. And let's turn on our new device. Do we want the light? Extra light never hurt anyone. Has a little light on it too. Wonder if it annoys the poop out of the microphone. Okay, we got our motor screws. So now basically I take my soldering iron and detangle it from my heat thing. I have a link also for a kit that has one of these soldering irons. It's like a station, a heat gun, has everything for 50 bucks, like 50, 60 bucks. And that's basically what I use, and I've used it now for over a year, and it's just been solid. There's like all those, everyone gets caught up with getting the T100s or whatever, but this has been really good to me, and it's probably one of the best purchases I've made. The electric screw, this thing, and now I got this thing that takes, oh, see, it sucks all the air so I don't breathe in all the cancer. Okay, so I'm gonna grab one cord at a time. I'm just gonna heat it up and pull it off. And I'm shaky like crazy, so if I can do this with my shaky hands, anyone can. Okay, you just got to be careful, and yeah, I'd say just, relax and take your time, enjoy working. If you enjoy it, it becomes kind of funner and easier. If you get all anxious and worry and stuff, then everything takes longer and you make mistakes. But if you just kind of enjoy it, then everything just kind of almost does itself for you. Now this motor has a screwed up, I think I screwed up the I think the stator will be fine. The bell is just bent, so I'll save this. I'll always save everything because you never know what you're able to fix. And sometimes two broken motors becomes one working motor, so why not, right? And now I'm going to take my flux. I just use the tip of a Q-tip, and I just rub some flux on there. This just flux makes everything work nicer and be easier for you. Now we're going to take our new motor, and we're just gonna, we have fresh screws, but we can recycle the ones we already have. I like to use everything until it basically is done. I know sometimes though these screws can be annoying because they can strip, but I have a tool that I can use that I can basically cut them and turn it into like a flathead. Basically like a Dremel tool. It's another great tool. When you start doing all this stuff, you find tools that make the jobs way easier. And yeah, there's quite a few tools that I use that have made FPV so much more enjoyable. Like this screw thing is like 40 bucks, and it's probably the best thing I've ever bought. Even if it broke once a year, I'd buy another one. But I'm still on my first one, and it recharges from USB-C. And basically I screw it in till it's tight, and then I do the last little bit of the screw by hand after. So it's tight, and then I do a little half turn, and it's good. And that way I kind of like always have it right and never have to worry about, you know, over screwing it, because you can break things pretty easily if you overdo stuff. So now you always, everything that you do, whatever you're building, whenever you're doing anything, you want to kind of route the wires to like see what they do and get that kind of almost exact length. But you're better off with just a touch, little bit extra than too little, because too little won't go the distance. So we'll cut it right there, and I'll go like this, shorter to longer. Sometimes you can save those for things too. Now, something that I didn't know until recently was that you could actually just use your nail, grab the tip and do that. And I like to do that instead of trying to take these or wire cutters or whatever. If you just take your nail, put it on the tip and rip it off, it works pretty perfectly. And then you don't have like the cords all twisting and stuff and doing weird things. Now for this, I take the tips, I dip them in flux. Okay, so they're scraped along the flux a bit. I've already fluxed the connectors. And now I'm just going to take these 3 parts and go with my soldering iron. I always clean it with the brass, put a little bit of solder on the tip, and just always have this system, always the same thing. So first I touch the cord with the soldering thing, and then I touch the cord with the solder, and you see that we get the solder on it nicely. So I always put it underneath, I touch the cord, and then I touch the solder to the cord, and just all 3 of them, same thing, same system. And it's just, you get a system that works, and it just works for you beautifully every single time if you do the same thing. If you're always doing different things, you're going to always get different results. But if you always, you know, you come up with a good system and you repeat it, you're always going to have good results. So I hold it, I line it up, and you could do this with with pliers, because my hand will get hot. Especially like if you take too long, I sit it on, and then I run the solder up the wire. Because if you just lift it off, sometimes you'll get like a pointy thing. But with this, I line it up nicely, maybe even diagonally. I'll sit it on the solder, I'll heat up the solder so that it melts into it, and then I'll run, see, I run it down the cord. And that just kind of gives me a nice finish. So I heat up the solder will kind of almost suck it up, and then I'll just run that down the cord. And then we got 3 nicely soldered things. We got a fresh motor on, and it looks nice and clean. And now I'm gonna get, actually I can reuse that electric tape from before. But with everything, I kind of like to see, I'm going to push the wires down and we're going to kind of route them. And just, you know, it's like art. You just take your time and you do this nicely. And then the way that this frame is designed, it's not really designed for these larger motors. It's designed for smaller ones. But it can take these motors too. They just end up sticking out the side. But this frame is designed to be more for 1404s. But I'm running 1504.5s here. But it really doesn't make that big of a difference. The nice thing is that this frame is compatible with multiple motors and with all your electronics. It can take 20 by 20, it can take the whoop stack, and it can take the 30 by 30s. So it fits basically everything except for 16 by 16, but 16 by 16 is just garbage usually anyways. So now we got a fresh motor on there. We're just gonna stick the prop back on. And we did that in less than 30 minutes. So now you know how to change a motor. See, I let it go till it stops, and then I do a little half turn, and that's kind of the perfect system for always making sure that my bolts are in perfectly, not too tight, not too loose, just nice and snug. And it stops, you do a little half turn, and it's just so nice and satisfying to know that you did things nicely. And yeah, that's it for today. Today's the last day to get my video in for iGao, so I got to get that in. I'm going to be back. We're going to build a Fractal 75. I've just been running around like crazy. I got to go to work now. I'm going to try and rip a couple packs. And yeah, thanks for hanging out, and I hope that was able to help you. Make sure you like and smash the subscribe button. Also in the description. I have a video going over this frame that I designed, and we're going to keep making upgrades and keep making it better for you, so check that out. And yeah, have a good one.